Before you joined Rainbow, you had another band called Elf.
That's right.
Can you tell me about that album?
Well,
or the 3 albums you
we
released
did
there?
3, yes. Elf was a band. We were all from the same hometown. We all grew up together. We knew each other from probably 6 or 7 years onward. That was we created, our attitudes. We listened to the same music all the time. We just it was the best time of my life. I think the first time you do anything is the best time of your life. It was the band that I saw Europe with for the first time. We toured everywhere for the very first time. It was just absolutely wonderful to be in that band. We created a very special, strange kind of music. We were a kind of a honky-tonk hard rock band with a piano really at its center point, which again was very strange. We did one album with the first lineup, which included our guitar player, who was my cousin, Rock Feinstein, who had his own band called the Rods eventually. Had a band called Wild Dogs as well. Then Rock left, and we had another guitar player named Steve Edwards, who was okay, wasn't brilliant, and then the band was kind of wallowing in itself. We didn't really know what we really wanted to be. I knew I wanted to play heavier music, but that was the first band, and that our second and third albums were produced by Roger Glover from Purple, of course, and Purple was our favorite band. At least they were my favorite band, and through that, we did a lot of touring with Deep Purple, and Richie got to hear me as a singer, and eventually came to me and said, "I'm leaving Rainbow, and would you like to, form a band with me?" And I said, "I will if you take the guys in my band, because I'm not about to leave them alone. I mean, they were my best friends, and I believed in us. I believed that we would eventually succeed." And Richie said, "Sure, no problem." So the guitar player was gone, and Richie stepped in, and it wasn't Elf with Richie. It was Rainbow. It was Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, and that's what became of that band. After the very first album, everyone was replaced by Cozy, by Jimmy Bain, and by Tony Carey, and that's what became Rainbow.
In 1970, you was in a car accident with Elf, and one of the guitar player died. What happened there?
Well, the guitar player who was my best friend, and this was well before Rock was in the band. Actually, I tell a lie. Rock was in the band. Rock Feinstein was in the band. He was involved in the accident too. We had 2 guitar players at the time, but the other guitar player who began the original band with me was killed in the accident. And we had a keyboard player with us who was extremely badly injured, who almost had his leg amputated, who went on to be Motley Crue's manager. It's a small world. The rest of us were hurt pretty badly. I had 153 stitches in my head. I had my scalp ripped off and not replaced, but sewed back together. Rock had his leg broken and hurt his eye. It was a pretty traumatic situation. It was almost one of those where you want to quit and where you want to leave, but we didn't. It's the only thing I knew or loved to do, and so we carried on from there. And that was the accident, and it was pretty traumatic and pretty tragic, but one must go on. You have to continue on with your life, and so we did.
I heard a rumor that there was a live album released by Elf, but I've never seen it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I heard a rumor that there should be a live album out by Elf, but I've never seen the album.
Well, we had, we had, as I say, 3 albums. One was called Trying to Burn the Sun. The other was called Carolina County Ball. And the first one was just called Elf. And the first one was the best. The first one was definitely the best. It was a lot more rock and roll album, just 4 of us playing. I see them all the time. I'm continually signing those albums. I don't know who's putting them out, but it's certainly not anyone who's paying me any money for it. But that's really not the point. I'm glad that some people like the things that we've done. There were some good songs on them, but it was perhaps the wrong band for the right time. I don't know.
Perhaps go further back in your career. You started up already in 1957 with your first band, and you must have played in a whole lot of bands.
Well, Elf wasn't the first band I had in 1957. No. I was only 9 years old then, I think so.
The Vegas Kings and Ronnie and the Rumblers, and you was 10 years old when you come out with the first single.
That's right. That's right. I can't hear you very well, but I think you're right. I think you probably got most of this from my friend Tapio from Finland, right?
No.
No? Was it on the internet?
No, I have from a book called I don't know the name of it. It's a rock family tree.
Well, some of it may be correct. I'm sure a lot of it's incorrect. I've seen a lot of things over the years that have been very incorrect. I heard one that was really wonderful. It said, my quote was, I have an ego, and I'm going to use it. And the only thing that matters to me is my ego. So the hell with the music. It's only my ego that matters. And I thought, well, there's a really bright man, you know, either him or me, because I never would make such a stupid statement. I mean, that's really not what I am. But I don't think I'd be stupid enough to say that in print anyway. But I think most of what you said is right. I started very, very young. Started, you know, as probably in the late 50s. Again, it's hard for me to remember those kind of things because they don't seem important to me. I never seem to have gotten past being 16 years old in my own mind. I've always just, you know, been what I am. The body gets a lot older, but the mind and the spirit stay pretty much young, I think, I hope.
What kind of music was the very old stuff in the 60s that you played?
Well, it was you know, whatever the rock and roll was of the time. I'm sure we were obviously we were covering music by everybody who was around, probably from Elvis Presley to whoever else was playing music then. Whatever we happened to hear. I mean, I honestly don't remember what was going on, you know, that long ago. I can probably remember what was going on in the middle 60s. I can probably remember from the Beatles onward. But before that, you know, music seemed a mishmash of nothing to me, except probably Elvis Presley, who was, you know, obviously the king of rock and roll and the biggest thing that ever happened. But music didn't seem important to me at all certainly from writing anything until the Beatles came about, because here was the first band that I, you know, had heard who actually wrote their own material, and I realized you could do that, and it was wonderful to me. So that's really what I remember most from the Beatles onward.
Okay, we can state that you have been living in the music world then, since you started up as a kid.
That's right. Well, I started playing the trumpet when I was 5 years old, so I have been doing a lot of music, yeah.
Yes, you played bass before you were singing.
I played bass as well. I played trumpet first, then I played bass, yeah. And didn't sing for a while. I had the other people in the band all sang. And then they were also horrible. They said, well, it's your turn. You've got to try now. And I said, no, I don't want to sing. I just want to play the bass. I don't want to do any of this other stuff. So I sang, and it was always really easy for me. You know, having been a trumpet player, it was easy to know the technique and how to do it. So I learned the correct way, never blew my voice out, sang from my diaphragm, and just put all that training to use. And unfortunately, I was the one who got stuck with it. To this day, I'd rather just be the bass player.
I think we are going some years nearer today.
Gee, that's unusual. I'm sure you wouldn't like me to talk about when I was in my mother's womb. I can tell you about what music she was listening to.
I'm sure my colleague would like to know.
I'm sure he would. Well, let's see. What was my mother listening to then? Probably some Glenn Miller or something like that, probably. Or maybe, let's see, probably Bach.
I have one other question, and that's from a project you played together with Roger Glover. You're playing part of the Big Butterfly Ball.
That's right.
What kind of was that for a TV or something like that?
It was for a film, actually. It was based upon a book done by a guy named Alan Aldrich, who wrote a book called The Grasshopper's Feast and the Butterfly Ball. And it was going to be an animated full-length feature film done by British Lion, and they had contracted Roger to write the music based upon the book. And so he wrote the song Love Is All, which is the first single, was going to be the first single from the album, and was the first single from the album. I performed 3 songs on that album, one which was Love Is All, which was also the first gold record that I ever received from the Benelux countries. It was a single and a gold record. I was more than proud of that. Wow, I got a gold record. The next 2 were I did a song called Sitting in a Dream and one called Homeward. Some of the other people on the album were Glenn Hughes, David Coverdale, a few other people, Tony Ashton, and a couple others that you probably don't know about. But the film never came to fruition. The album was released, but there never came the film, although there was a clip that I have seen actually once or twice up here in Scandinavia, where my part of the album, I was a frog. I played Froggy, and there was a cartoon that, as I say, I've seen on television here from the song Love Is All before. So yeah, that was definitely something I did with Raj.
I would like to take us up to the Black Sabbath era.
Okay.
How was it to go in Black Sabbath and take over from Ozzy?
Oh, it was great for me, and I had nothing to do with taking over from Ozzy. As far as I was concerned, he never really existed. We don't sing anything alike. We don't do anything alike as far as I can see. And I'm certainly not taking his importance away. I mean, he was Black Sabbath, and I mean, as well as Tony and Geezer and Billy, of course. They were the band, and Iron Man and War Pigs and Paranoid. Those were, the things that Ozzy did, and very well, I might add. So, but when I came into the band, it was not to me a matter of replacing Ozzy at all, because I was never the kind of singer that Ozzy was, nor wanted to be, to tell you the truth. I was always much more involved in melody and much more involved in the technical aspect of music than he was. So that's what made the blend so nice, that you had guys like Geir and Tony and Bill who really belted it out, like were heavier than hell, which brought me into the situation, a strong, hard singer, but I sang and wrote with a lot more melody than they had been subjected to before. And that's one of the reasons why it worked so well. I think if I had gone into that situation and tried to be Ozzy, or tried to be what Ozzy was, it definitely wouldn't have worked, because no one was ready to accept one who was going to be a pale imitation of Ozzy. But I think the acceptance was such that I think that perhaps my being more of a musician than Ozzy was made the band different and better. It was more acceptable for its time, perhaps. But for me, it was great. I loved playing in that band. I really loved playing in that band. I loved the people in it. I got along with Tony so well. He's just the greatest guitar player, greatest songwriter. It was really a labor of love for me.
And then you recorded Heaven and Hell, which is a milestone of a record, in my opinion.
Well, thank you very much for that. Everyone seems to say that, but I don't think we realized that when we wrote it. I don't think we realized at all that it was going to be that important. But it's one of those things when you happen to make an album that just works. I think Holy Diver was an album like that as well. No one had an idea that it was going to do as well as it did, but it was just the right people at the right time, and it had magic to it.
And then Mob Rules came, and I thought that was a very good album too, but never seemed to have that importance.
I totally agree with you. I think it was one of the most overlooked albums that there was. I think it was such a good product. It's a real shame, a real shame. But and I hate to be a drag, but they're giving me that we have to stop the signal here, so
okay,
we have to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Geir.
We're gonna stop the interview now, and I'm gonna wish you good luck with both the album, and we hope to see you in Norway.
I hope like hell we're there. I really do. It's going to be great. And if there's any power on earth that can make me to be there, I certainly will. We miss you guys very much. And by the way, thanks a lot for letting me have this talk with you. It's nice of you to give me a chance to talk about the album and to talk about my life.
You picked out one song in the end, and can you tell me about this song?
Which one?
You picked up Black.
Black. Black was just really the idea that the reality of life, and that is that eventually we're all going to die, and when you're in love, it's all going to end. And what happens? We all just fade away to black. I also like the fact that it was just one word, and it just said black, which I think was very interesting. People say, what's that song about? So sometimes if you choose very simple things, it makes a lot of sense. There was a song from Dehumanizer that I liked very much. It was much like that. It was a song called I, which did the same for me. Just that one word seems to say a lot.
Okay, Ronnie.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much again, and I hope I'll see you guys in Norway.
Yeah.
Give my best to everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.